We'll discuss tonight the question of how did the Avos, Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, and others keep the Shabbos? Because we all know a non-Jew, a ben Noach, is prohibited from observing the Shabbos. So, who says that Avram kept the Shabbos? So we all know the famous Gemara in Yuma on Daf Chav Ches Amud Beis 28b, that Avram fulfilled the whole Torah even before it was given, not only biblical commandments, but even rabbinical commandments. And the Gemara's example is Eruv Tavshilin, because he was the one who went out and entertained guests. That's what Eruv Tavshilin is all about. And as the Meshech Chochmah points out, Yaakov represents Eruv Techumen, that he built the home inside. He had the shiftei come. But either way, we see we have a tradition that the Avos kept the whole Torah. So the problem is, how did they observe Shabbos? Because the Gemara says in Krisus, Daf Tesam and Aleph 9a, we became full-fledged Jews at Har Sinai. We had the conversion, we had the Milah before, and we had the Tevilah, the immersion, before Har Sinai. We didn't become full-fledged Jews until Har Sinai, so hence Avram must be considered a ben Noach, and therefore how could he observe the Shabbos? So that's the kasha of many achronim. Many scholars discuss this question, and we'll deal with some of them. So there's a famous answer of the Meiri, or based on the Meiri. The Meiri writes, based on the Gemara in Sanhedrin 58b, Nun Ches Amud Beis, why is it usher for a guy to learn Torah and keep Shabbos? That's what the Gemara focuses on. It's an issur of a guy learning Torah as well as a guy keeping Shabbos. So why is it prohibited? So the Meiri writes, because it would appear as he is one of ours, and hence others will learn from him. If you see someone keeping Shabbos, they'll assume he's a Yid, he's a Jew, and then when they see him eating non-kosher, they'll say, oh, it must be okay because he kept Shabbos. So the concern is, he might be viewed as a Jew, and therefore other Jews will follow in the wrong footsteps, thinking that it's okay, and therefore we want to prevent that. As the Meiri points out, we see from the Meiri that these two things are the hallmark of a Jew. Someone who is proficient in Torah, knows the Torah well as observance of Shabbos. Those are the hallmarks. And if a Jew sees someone educated in Torah, a Torah scholar, and someone keeping Shabbos, the concern is he'll think it's a Jew, and therefore he'll follow him on all the other things which he's not keeping. So if that's the case, so based on the Meiri, we could say as follows, that we know prior to Har Sinai, there were no Jews to be misled, because we didn't become full-fledged Jews until Mount Sinai, until we received the Torah later on. Hence, there was no problem for the Avos, for Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov to keep the Shabbos, because there were no Jews to mislead at the time. That's how that's based on a Meiri. A2, a second approach, is based on the Kli Chemda, Rabbi Meir Dan Platsky, in the Sefer Chemdas Yisrael. He points out, we all know Shabbos is mentioned in the Aseret HaDibros. Shabbos is mentioned in the 10 statements, the 10 commandments. And we know the purpose of Shabbos, as we learned in the beginning of Bereshit, is to show that God created the world. So that's why we make Kiddush Friday night, etc. And we refrain from work because God worked 6 days, He created the world 6 days and rested, so too we do as well. But another reason for keeping the Shabbos, the Chemdes Meir Dan Platsky says, is to also show His ongoing hashgacha pratis, His divine providence. We know God watches over the whole world, but there's a special hashgacha, a special divine providence for the Jews. As the Gemara tells us in Shabbos on 156a, the Gemara has a whole discussion about the concept of mazel. We know we say mazel tov and all that, mazel ra, but with the principle the Gemara tells us is ein mazel Yisrael. The Jews aren't affected by this constellation, and they talk about maybe whether it's individuals or as a whole nation, but ein mazel Yisrael. So the constellations don't apply to us. And that's why, so how did Abraham keep Shabbos? So that's what the Chemdes points out, that we know God told Abraham, go out from your mazel, exit from your stargazing. Israel is not governed by the constellations, by the mazalah. So therefore, if the whole purpose, or not, if one of the purposes of keeping Shabbos is for the hashgacha pratis, the special divine providence, and since God already, we know God told Abraham already he has a special divine providence, there's no problem for Abraham to keep Shabbos. And in fact, that's how he explains. There's a very difficult Rashi in Yevamos, and Daf Mem Ches, that talks about a ger toshav is obligated in keeping Shabbos. What's the pshat? So he explains that since he accepted the 7 mitzvahs b'nei Noach, he showed he renounced his idol worship, which is one of the 7, and therefore he has a status similar to Abraham. So that's the second approach. We have the approach number 1 of the Meiri, that Torah, Talmud Torah, and Shabbos are the hallmarks of a Yid, and therefore we're concerned that someone's proficient in it, he must be a Jew, and therefore we're afraid he might mislead Jewish people. But by Avram, Kodem Harsin, there were no Jews, it wasn't a problem. And secondly, Rabbi Meir Dampotsky says because Shabbos is a major aspect is the hashgacha pratis, we ein mazel Yisrael. But by Avram it said go out from your mazel, go out from the astrologers, and therefore he was on that level of hashgacha pratis, and therefore he was able to keep Shabbos. It wouldn't be a problem to him. Answer number 3 is another famous answer of the Chasam Sofer, one of the great acronym. And this is from his student, the Maram Shik, quoted the name of the Chasam Sofer. Also in another sefer, the Cheshek Shlomo, as well, he also discusses it. They quote a halach in Shulchan Aruch and Hilchos Tzitzis, Parak Yud Gimel, or I should say Siman Yud Gimel, Halacha Aleph. So the Shulchan Aruch tells us someone who wears a garment, wears a beged, and the tzitzis are not attached to the tzitzis. The tzitzis are not attached to the beged appropriately. So besides the fact that you don't fulfill your mitzvah if that's not on properly, but secondly, if it's Shabbos, you can't go outside with them. You can't go from a private to a public place or vice versa, because you'll end up being mechalo Shabbos, because the tzitzis are considered a burden, a masoy, and it's considered carrying. So we see from the Shulchan Aruch, at least the way the Chasam Sofer says it, that if you put on tzitzis for the purpose of fulfillment of the mitzvah, that it's considered integral to the garment, it's not considered an extra a burden. But if you put on tzitzis and you don't fulfill the mitzvah, so in a way where the mitzvah is not going to be performed, so then it's considered carrying. So he says like this: so if Avram's a Jew and he's wearing the tzitzis, so it's integral and therefore it's not considered a burden. But if Avram's considered a guy, so it's a burden, he's a violation of Shabbos. So the many chidushim there, that it's not so pashut that even if I'm not obligated, but if I do it because I want to fulfill an optional mitzvah, maybe it's also not a burden. Either way, that's a separate shir on Hilchas, Hotzah, and Tzitzis. But the bottom line is that's what the Chasam Sofer says. How was he able to keep the Shabbos? So if he wore these garments, he wore the garment with tzitzis on, and therefore, as a yid, it's part of the beged, so it's fine. But as a non-Jew, it's considered carrying, and therefore he violated the Shabbos as a guy, but he kept it as a Jew. Answer number 4 is from Rav Pinchas Halevi Horowitz. He takes a different approach in terms of, in Parashas Noach, when it's discussing the flood, it says, Yom v'layla, the day and night shall not cease. In other words, we know in Judaism that Vayihi Erev, Vayihi Boker, the day begins at night. We go from night to night. That's our definition of day. But however, by a non-Jew, Pashas, it's a 24-hour day from dawn to dawn. Agos HaShachar to Agos HaShachar. So therefore, for a Jew, he could keep the Shabbos. He keeps the Shabbos. But as a guy, he does malacha, he wears them, let's say, Saturday night. So as a Jew, he does the malacha, Shabbos is over already. So as a Jew, he has to keep the Shabbos. But as a non-Jew, he violates it Saturday night, so therefore that's how the Avos are able to keep the Torah. They did a malacha after our Shabbos is over, but it was still not over Gabi ben Noach Agai. So that's what we have. We have the Meiri, the hallmark of a Jew is Torah and Shabbos, hence will be Misled. We can't be misled, no Jews before Sinai. And then we had the Rabbi Meir Dan Platsky about the special Hashgacha Pratis, divine providence that Yid has, and that's what Shabbos is all about. But Abraham was in that level. God said, Ein Mazel Yisrael, and therefore he was able to keep the Shabbos. Then we had the Chasam Sofer with tzitzis. If you put on tzitzis, so as a Jew it's not considered carrying, but as a non-Jew it is because it's a burden. Or as Pinchas Halevi Horowitz points out, you do malacha Saturday night, so it's still Shabbos is still going for a guy, but it's over for a Jew. Another explanation is based on the Binyan Sion, Rav Shimshon of Hirsch's Rebbe. And also the Minchas Chinuch as well has something similar as well in Mitzvah Lamed Beis. But it's based on a Rambam. The Rambam writes in Hilchos Melachim that as follows, that all the different shiurim we have, measurements for different malachas, that only applies for a Jew. But for a non-Jew isn't included in shiurim. For instance, the concept of chatzi shir. In other words, for a non-Jew there is no shir. Whenever you take a bite out of something until you can't eat, that's in violation. But a Jew, at least not la halacha, but at least according to the opinion of Reish Lakish, the Chatzi Shir is mutter min Torah. So according to the Reish Lakish, the Binyan Sion explains. So if you do a Chatzi Shir on Shabbos, so as a guy, you're chayav because there are no shiurim. But as a yid, it's mutter min Torah, and therefore it's okay. That's one approach to the Binyan Sion. The second one, he says that, what is the definition of malacha? That any activity requiring exertion or something difficult to do. So let's say picking up a large package, a heavy package. So if a non-Jew carries a heavy package, he's in violation of the Shabbos. As a Jew, it's not a malacha, so it's not a problem. That's the second answer of the Binyan Sion. Another answer from the Pardes Yosef, he has an interesting Gemara in Shabbos, Ayin Heyam Abei 75b, that the Gemara tells us you carry something on Shabbos which is Asur Bahana, which you can't get any benefits from. Let's say, something like Avodah Zarah, you're not chayav. So, because since it's not, you can't get any benefit, we don't view it as worth anything. So therefore, the Pardes Yosef says, if Avram was a Jew, if he carry something, like, related to Avodah Zarah, idol worship. So if you're a Jew, it's no Chilul Shabbos, because, as the Gemara says in Shabbos, if you carry something which is Asur Bar No, you're not Chayev. However, if you're a Ben Noach, a guy is allowed to get Hana from Avodah Zarah, and therefore he's considered Mechalel Shabbos. Others want to point out, maybe if you only keep the Shabbos, not with shame, keeping Shabbos, it's out of laziness, or you just want to retire, so that maybe it wouldn't be in a violation of Shabbos. But either way, there's a final answer is from the Maram Shik. And he bases this answer not on the Chasam Sofer we had before, but on the Magen Avraham, one of the running commentaries on the Shulchan Aruch. We know the Gemara tells us in many places, but Kedushin, let's say, it talks about the halach of shlichus, of sending a messenger. Shlucho shel Adam Komoso. And this parenthetically, I always like pointing out that in the Chazaras Hashatz, when we daven, the Chazan is our Shliach Tzibor. However, when it comes to Modim, saying thank you, that the whole congregation is. Because when it comes to saying thank you, you got to do it yourself. Modim Anachtanlach. But either way, in general, it's a concept of Shlichus. And we have a concept in the Gemara, ain't Shlichus La'aka. But the concept of a messenger doesn't apply to a non-Jew. So, the Magen Avraham says a Chiddush, or maybe not a Chiddush. When do we say Ein Shlichus La'akom if a guy is going to do something on behalf of a Jew? However, if a guy to do something on behalf of a guy, if a Gentile on behalf of a Gentile, then there is Shlichus. So based on this, the Maram Shik suggests, hence Abraham can appoint a Gentile agent and do a malacha for him. If he's considered a Ben Noach, so he's violating Shabbos, because there is Shlichus among two Goyim. But if he's a Jew, ain't Shlichus La'akum, and therefore it wouldn't be his malacha. So we went through many different Yisodis, but just a very interesting question, and we could see not tonight how it can also affect Halach L'mais as well. I'll tell you in a minute. But some interesting answers to the question: how do we resolve the issue? On one hand, we know the Avos, the Gemara Yuma Chavches Amud Beis, the Avos kept the whole Torah. Yet we know the Gemara in Krisis tells us we weren't full-fledged Jews until Har Sinai, and the Gemara tells us it's usher for a guy to keep Shabbos. So how could the Avos keep Shabbos? So we went through a couple of explanations. We had the Meiri, that the hallmark of a Jew is proficiency in Torah and observance in Shabbos, and the concern is you're going to be misled, but there are no other Jews around, so there's nothing to be misled about. We have Rabbi Adam Platsky, who says Shabbos represents a divine providence, but Avram was told he's going to be on that high level, and therefore it fitted quite natural for him to keep the Shabbos. The Chasam Sofer, who points out if you wear a beged of tzitzit, so for a guy it's Machal Shabbos, it's considered the tzitzits are a burden and you're carrying. For a Jew, it's part of the beged and it's fine. And the fourth answer we have from Pinchas Halevi Horowitz, that for our days, Vayera Yibokir, day to night, but they're 24 hours from dawn to dawn. And they have to do a malacha Saturday night, so for a Jew it's over. Shabbos, Yidam Machal Shabbos, for a guy, it's still going on. Now we had the Binyan Tzion's first answer in the Minchas Chinuch. Have a guy do a Chatzi Shir. So what? If you do a Chatzi Shir for a guy, you chayev, because the Rambam writes the Shir knows doesn't apply to a Ben Noach. But for a Jew, according to Rish Lakish, Chatzi Shir is Mutter Min HaTorah. Or we said something similar, the definition of Malacha is different. So as a Jew carrying a heavy package on Shabbos, let's say in your house, isn't a Malacha. But for a guy it is, and therefore let's do something like that. And another answer to Pardes Yosef, that you're allowed to carry something which is also bahana, or which you're not allowed to, but you're not chayiv if you do. However, because that's for a Jew, it's also bahana, but for a guy, it's mutter bahana. So therefore, if Avram was a Jew, so then he's exempt. But if Avram is a ben Noach, he's chayiv to a manashach. He can, as a Jew, he's keeping Shabbos. As a guy, he's not. And then we pointed out the Maram Shik based on the Chatzim Sofer. Ein shlichus ha'akum is only between if a Jew appoints a Gentile, but if two Gentiles one appoints another, we do say it. So, but Avram appointed Gentile to do a malacha for him on Shabbos. If he's a guy, he's chayiv, meaning it's good. He's desecrating the Shabbos. If he's a Jew, ein shlichus ha'akum when it works. So these are very interesting questions in terms of how we reconcile the Avos, but it also fits in. I'm not going to go into the topic now, but it fits into the question of sometimes a would-be convert, a ger shamal below taval, a ger who started the conversion process, did the milah, but it took a little longer for it to heal, and he didn't get to do the tefillah yet, and the issue is that with Shabbos, that was a major controversy around the 1850s. As situation happened in Eretz Yisrael, in Yerushalayim. We'll go the whole shir on it, but Rav Asher, there's a whole big to-do whether he was permitted to keep the Shabbos or not. So they discussed different ideas, perhaps related, that maybe a ger shabbos tavel, maybe he's in this status of the Avos, and therefore as a guy he has to machalo Shabbos, but as a Jew he doesn't, so perhaps some of this is relevant to that issue. Either way, we've discussed different explanations. How do we resolve, on one hand, the Avos keeping Shabbos, on the other hand, a ben Noach is prohibited in keeping Shabbos.